But in my book, if you're not willing to lay down your life for somebody, you don't qualify to wear that title of hero. And that's what our sons and daughters did, our loved ones. That's what every one of you who have served or who are serving is willing to do. And my prayer is that won't be required of you, but you're willing to do that same thing. And that's why our nation is what it is today. That's why we have the freedoms that we have today. On August 2nd, 2006, my son was in Ramadi, which the guys then called the hellhole of Iraq. They said it was the worst piece of real estate. And that day they were up on a rooftop. A lot of times people say, well, why were the SEALs, where's the water that's around there? Did they come in on the river? But SEALs actually stands for sea, air, and land, and they're everywhere. They're amazing young men and women in the military, but not in the SEALs. And we're so proud of all of them. But they were up on the rooftop, and there were 4 of them up there, and his buddy Ryan had been hit severely with shrapnel damage. The bullets had hit the rifle and hit him. And they looked at Ryan and they knew that it was serious. They didn't know if he would survive even the next couple of minutes, let alone, ever. So 2 of the SEALs dropped to their knees and went to help Ryan. Mark could have done the very same thing. The rooftop up there had a cement border around it. And Mark could have gone down to his knees. He could have been safe. He could have been home. And it would have been different for Ryan. But this was a young man who valued other people's lives more important than his own. I know Mark did not weigh the situation. He didn't go, okay, here's the pros, here's the cons. Is this something I should do? Do I not want to do this? What about my family at home? He just instantly made that decision to stand up in the direct line of fire all by himself. I'm a mother, I'm a nurturer. I don't know where you gain that courage or that strength to do that, but that's what that young man did that day. He was able to get the medic up to the rooftop, and the medic looked at the situation and said, it's serious, we got to get out of here immediately. So not once, but a second time, Mark stood up in that direct line of fire again. He did that to save his buddies, but he also did that for me. He did that for you. He did that for everyone in America because he so loved this country and believed in what he was doing. I'm proud to tell you today they all got down off the roof, went back to the base, which has been named in his honor, Camp Mark Lee in Ramadi. And I was able to visit there at Christmas. I went over to Iraq and got to stand by that amazing sign. It's named there in my son's honor. I had my Kevlar and my body armor on it, but I stood there proudly. They went back to the base, and the Master Chief came in and said, we found where 30 insurgents are that just attacked us. Are you guys up to going back out? This had been the biggest battle in Iraq up to that point that they had just endured. They just saw their buddy that they think was probably mortally wounded. But these are warriors, and he stood up. Mark looked his Master Chief in the eye. And he said, roger that, let's go get him. So they went back into that hellhole of Iraq, and they had cleared the bottom of the house, and Mark was not an officer. But that day he chose to lead the men, and he led them up to the rooftop. And as they were going up the rooftop, there was a window there in the side, and they started to take fire. And for the 3rd and final time that day, Mark stood out in the direct line of fire so that the rest of his platoon could live. I'm so proud of him, an amazing young man, as I said, who valued other people's lives more important than his own. But you know what? His character isn't any different from the other men and women that are serving in our military. As I said before, they're willing to do that same thing for you, for me, even for the protesters that are here today. They would do that for every American. They don't stop and say, okay, would I do this for the Democrats, the Republicans, the Independents, should they be black or white? They do this for all of America because they so love America, and I'm so proud of them. And that's why it's an honor to be here with you guys today and to support our troops and thank them for what they do. I'd like to read to you one of Mark's, actually the last email letter that he sent home. And this was 3 weeks before he died. And I've entitled this his glory letter. Glory is something that some men chase and others find themselves stumbling upon, not expecting it to find them. Either way, it is a noble gesture that one finds bestowed upon them. My question is, when does glory fade away and become a wrongful crusade or an unjustified means by which consumes one completely? I have seen war. I have seen death, the sorrow that encompasses your entire being as a man breathes his last. I can only pray and hope that none of you will ever have to experience some of these things I've seen and felt here. I have felt fear, and I have felt adrenaline pump through my veins, making me seem invincible. I will be honest and say that some of the things I've seen here are unjustified and uncalled for. However, for the most part, we are helping this country. It will take more years than most expect, but we will get Iraq to stand on its own feet. Most of what I've seen here I will never really mention or speak of, only due to the nature of those involved. I've seen a man give his food to a hungry child and family. Today I saw a hospital that most of us would refuse to receive treatment from. The filth and the smell would allow most of us not to be able to enter to scan, let alone get medicine from. However, you will be relieved to know that the coalition forces have started to provide security for and supply medicine and equipment to help aid in the cause. I've seen amazing things here. However, I've seen the sad part of war too. I have seen the morals of a man who cares nothing of human life. I've seen hate towards a nation's people who's never committed a wrong except being born of a third world, ill-educated and ignorant to Western civilization. It is not everybody who feels this way, only a select few. But it brings questions to mind. Is it okay for one to consider themselves superior to another race? Surprising, we are not a stranger to this sort of attitude, meaning that in our own country, we discriminate against someone for what nationality they are, their education level, their social status. We distinguish our role models as multi-million-dollar sports heroes or talented actors and actresses who complain about not getting millions of dollars more than they are currently getting paid. Our country is a great country. Don't get me wrong on this, otherwise none of us would be here. My point of this is, how can we come over here and help a less than fortunate country without holding contempt or hate toward them if we can't do it in our own country? I try to do my part over here, but the truth is over there, the United States, will do nothing but take. Ask yourself, when was the last time you donated clothes that you hadn't worn out? When was the last time you paid for a random stranger's cup of coffee, a meal, or maybe even a tank of gas? When was the last time you helped a person with the groceries into or out of their car? Think to yourself and wonder what it would feel like if when the bill came for the meal and you were told it was already paid for. More random acts of kindness like this would change our country and our reputation as a country. It is not unknown to most of us that the rest of the world looks at us with this doubt towards our humanity and morals. I'm not here to preach or say, look at me, because I am just as at fault as the next person. I find that being here makes me realize the great country we have and the obligation we have to keep it that way. The 4th has just come and gone, and I received many emails thanking me for helping keep America great and free. I take no credit for the career path I have chosen. I can only give it to those of you who are reading this, because each one of you has contributed to me and who I am. However, what I do over here is only a small percent of what keeps our country great. I think the truth to our greatness is each other. Our purity, our morals, and kindness passed down to each generation through example. So to all my friends and family, do me a favor. Pass on the kindness, the love, the precious gift of human life to each other, so that when your children are come into contact with the great conflict that we are now faced with here in Iraq, that they are people of humanity, of pure motives, of compassion. This is our real part to keep America free. Happy 4th, love you. P.S. Halfway through the deployment. Can't wait to see all your faces. And I tell people, God's the one that redeployed Mark to heaven. He successfully completed his mission. He did what he was supposed to do. But you and I are here, and we're only halfway through our deployment, and there's things that we need to do. You're displaying part of that today by standing for our troops and letting them know how much we appreciate and love them. But we need to be contacting our congressmen and senators. We need to be writing letters to the editors. When you're in that grocery line, talk about your heroes, talk about our troops, let them know what they're doing. The media won't tell the real story. When I was in Iraq, I saw as many people, Iraqi people, out on patrol as I did Americans. Numerous times, the locals came up to us and they thanked the troops for the freedoms that they've given them. But we're not seeing that on the mainstream media. They don't tend to want to cover it anymore. So we need to be masses that get out there and tell the stories. Thank you for being here. Let's continue to honor our troops in America because we love them.